It finally happened. After teasing us since the very first moments of the show, Yellowjackets finally went there. Yellowjackets has taken some huge swings this season, and they have majorly paid off. So today we're going to be taking some big swings of our own and talking about the latest Yellowjackets theories that'll probably break your brain. So I've got some fresh Yellowjackets theories for you, including what I think is going on with that mossy tree that Travis and Nat found. So let's get into our new Yellowjackets theories. First up, I wanted to talk about Misty and Walter, or putting the sick in forensic. So they seem to be going to this interrogation this episode, and we see Walter and Misty officially meeting for the first time in the trailer. And Walter says like he's honored to meet Misty.
It is an honor to meet you, Misty.
Okay, let's get one thing straight. This is my case and my witness.
I'm kind of thinking he must know about her from the plane crash, because we're given the impression that they are famous after surviving, and you know, we saw them in the magazines and on websites and things. So Misty and Walter are going to go and interview someone who's been living at the motel, and I was thinking this could maybe be Randy Walsh, because that would create something a little bit interesting, considering that Randy is the only other person who knows that Jeff was the blackmailer. And it would be kind of interesting if Misty got a hold of that information. I'm going to assume she's going to tell Ty, and whenever she can find Nat, she'll tell her. So that could create some interesting dynamics with the group. Although the only thing working kind of against that is the fact that Randy knows Misty, but I don't think the two would be in touch. So maybe she could kind of pretend that she did work for the FBI. Also, they could go down the route of Randy was like a jock and Misty didn't seem to hang around in the same circles, so maybe he didn't notice them, but again, she was in the plane crash, so I'm sure he knows her that way. So next I want to talk about Lottie, and we had, I think, a few little symbolism hints in this episode where Lottie's talking about heliotrope. That's something that moves with the sun. Lottie is always in more of a sun color than the heliotrope purple that her followers are in, and it's like her followers are following her the same way the flower follows her. But also, one of the scenes that I think was critical in this episode, and maybe a hint for later, is when Nicole Mains's character gave Lottie the drink, and she kind of had this reaction to it that wasn't very pleasant immediately. She was saying how this was the wrong one, and this was, you know, something that increased libido. And I will talk more about things in drinks in a second when we get more to the Nat side of things. But just to talk about that particular scene, I just felt like there was maybe a little peeking behind the veil, and everything wasn't quite as it seems with Lottie. I was really getting some Teal Swan vibes with the whole thing. And again, in that scene, you obviously get Nicole Mains's character. She's wearing the necklace again that all the followers are wearing. And I just think that it's interesting that it's also in gold. Although I know that there's not like a huge range of colors for these types of things. Welcome my cat again to the video. That they probably were either going to go with silver, white gold, or gold. But, you know, it could be related to the heart necklace, the two gold necklaces. So we'll see if anything comes of that. Going along with that, I do think that one of the scenes in one of the trailers where Misty is saying she's hiding something to Elijah Wood's character, who says like everybody's hiding something.
She's hiding something. Everybody's hiding something.
I do think they're talking about Lottie there, and just everything we've seen with Lottie, like the scene with Nat too, when she's turning the sign saying like sharing in session or something like that, that I really just saw some micro little things where I thought something is not right here. And that led me to just thinking the whole Travis thing, like the way that she tells the story, I honestly do not believe what she's saying. I think that it's way too convenient. And also there's just some things that don't make sense to me anyway. Like the way Lottie says, oh yeah, he left his bank information. Like, I mean, somebody going through all that kind of trauma that he was reliving and everything that's happening, and he's going to put candles down for the symbol and, you know, use this lift mechanism. Are you really thinking about like, oh, I need to get my bank information squared away for if something happens? That just seemed like a thrown in thing there, but very kind of calculated and thrown in there. So I don't know, there was a few other just moments where I was like, I do not believe this story that Lottie is telling me, but more about that in a second. So when it comes to Shauna, as I mentioned before, you know, the whole thing with possibly Randy and the blackmail, that might come to bite Shauna in this episode, but we do also see her walking through what looks to be like some sort of junkyard. And then we also, you know, have that line at the end about peeling human flesh. So that was pretty wild.
Have you ever peeled the skin off a human corpse?
But when it comes to the junkyard, that did make me think of Adam, because as we know from the first season, he did work at some sort of mechanics. So she seems to be tying up some sort of loose end here. And I do think that, you know, maybe the Randy blackmail thing bites her. And this seems to be another way that things are just coming back to bite Shauna in the present adult timeline. When it comes to teenage Shauna, there was a few little promo pictures that came out. And one of them, it looks like she has a bloody nose. But it could be, I mean, I don't think someone would have hit her, because I think we would have seen snippets of that in the trailer. But I will say there is a bit in the credits where it looks like it is Shauna in a fight with someone, but I think that's later on in the season. So with the bloody nose, I just wanted to draw attention to it more here, because that is going to fit in with the bigger theory I have at the end that relates to the mossy tree and Lottie slipping people things. So when it comes to Nat, there wasn't too much in episode 2 that was spinning into a theory for me, but just some things that happened in episode 2 and relating them to some of the trailers that we've seen. It made me think about that scene where we saw Misty finding Nat at Lottie's compound, and Nat is saying, oh, Lottie can help us. And Misty's like, Lottie that was in, you know, the loony bin. And Nat's like, yes, yes.
The Lottie who was committed to a mental institution in Switzerland, Lottie? Yes.
And I've always thought that was like a bit of a strange scene, because it just seems so out of character for Nat. Like, she seems all happy and everything like that. And also we've seen Lottie and Nat having serious issues. Nat is still wearing like her regular clothes that are not part of Lottie's cult. I'm just going to use the word cult. But whenever we see Nat later on in like promo pics or trailers, or in that scene I mentioned, she is wearing the heliotrope. So is she part of Lottie's wellness cult? And I started to think that the possibility of this, it is a bit far-fetched, but it's totally possible, anything is on this show, that Nat could be being slipped something by Lottie, because Lottie seems to be making excuses to keep Nat there longer, and she could be getting something into Nat's system by her drinks or by whatever she's eating. And the reason that I thought of this too was because, again, we got that mention from when Nicole Maines' character is giving her the drink related to, oh, this is for your libido. We saw Travis have his issues resolved in this episode, so this could be something that Lottie's done for a while, like trying to help people by giving them what she thinks they need through, you know, a drink or whatever it is. So she could be slipping Nat something. And we did also have that very quick flash of when Nat lies down and she gets this flash of EMTs waking her up and what looks like Travis behind the EMTs. And I've heard a lot of people say that this seemed to be like Nat having an OD, and that then triggered my mind to think, well, maybe this is some way of Nat getting some sort of premonition thought of I am ingesting something I shouldn't. I know that is a little bit out there. I know this is a pretty far-fetched one, but hey, anything can happen on this show. And also, you know, Lottie's cult seem pretty enamored with her, and although we do see people joining groups like that every single day, it could be that they're all ingesting some sort of substance. And with the sort of justification that Lottie seems to be doing, I wouldn't put anything past her. But now I'm going to talk about Ty and the bad one, because I think we saw a lot of glimpses of the bad one in this episode. The first one, of course, was when Ty is looking in the mirror and we see her reflection is moving independently from her. So I do think we're going to see next episode the one that we saw in the trailer, where Ty is looking in the mirror in what looks like the hospital.
It's happening again, isn't it?
And again, the reflection moves independently because the shirt that she's wearing in the promo images and the trailer for next episode is the same stuff that she's wearing in the coming up on this season of Yellowjackets trailer. So it does seem like that scene is going to be next episode. So that's two mirror ones back to back. I wonder if more and more we're just going to see these little glimpses of really what is happening, because a reflection moving independently, like, that's pretty out there. That's not something that you can really imagine or be like a trick of the light. I do also think it's possible that the bad one was the one who woke up when they went out to snack on Jackie, because there's not too much of a difference. Obviously it's still Ty, but it's something in the eyes that is kind of the difference between the two. So I do think there is a little hint of that there, and that could possibly be what Ty is screaming about in the trailer for episode 3, where it's revealed to her that that is what they did. And also, I do think it was the bad one that was in control of the car, because you see Ty accelerate, or it sounds like she accelerates, and then her and Simone obviously crash into that truck. What I found interesting was before they cut away to show the scenes that Sammy actually wasn't there, Ty very quickly closes her eyes.
You are very sick. Tysa, you need to stop everything that you are doing and get help right now.
And we know that, you know, normally the bad one is happening when Ty is asleep. So the fact that she closed her eyes, we know she's super sleep deprived. Was it actually how the bad one took over, because she just very quickly had like a fall asleep moment and the bad one then was able to take over and crash the car? So finally, I wanted to talk about my theory with the mossy tree and what's going on there, because I think this is a really good explanation. Of course, it can always be the supernatural because we don't actually know if that's going on in the show or not. But I was looking up about kind of poisoning and what could possibly be out there that would affect, you know, we saw the stuff with the bear. We've seen all the birds in the next trailer that have fallen down and I'm assuming are dead around the cabin. And it made me think about canaries in coal mines. They used to have canaries in coal mines because birds and smaller animals are affected a lot faster than humans. So if there's a poisonous gas that's going on, then it's going to have the bird fall off its perch or stop singing. And that's what indicates to the humans, hey, there's poison down here, because the gases are colorless, odorless, tasteless. You can't see it. So I did start thinking about that. And I know a lot of people have been talking about mining and how there could be mines out there. It seems as though that is a really strong possibility. So I was researching the mining stuff, and I started thinking as well about mercury poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning. I did have to zoom in on the fire a lot because I thought if they were using coal in the house, they could be getting some sort of carbon dioxide poisoning. But when I was doing all this research, I came across some articles that were talking about methane when it comes to the coal industry. And it doesn't just apply to the coal industry. They have these methane pockets, they call them, loads of places, and it's actually really dangerous and kind of what is heating up the planet right now. They can even get them in lakes and things like that, and they cause these methane bubbles. So the pockets of methane in the earth, basically, if this is the surface of the earth, and say you have a methane pocket down here, it will actually heat up the earth and above. And the methane is very explosive. It's very flammable too. So if you, hit the pocket, or, if you burst the bubble in the lake and were able to put a flame to it, it would cause an explosion. So I was thinking as well, like all the stuff with Lottie and the candles, like what is going on there? Maybe it's all related in some way, or maybe they're just sending us on a bunch of wild goose chases. So let me know down in the comment section what you think of the methane theory. Let me know your favorite theories down there too. And as always, make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.